Hey everybody, Nature Jake here. So today we're going to talk about fish. So I like all sorts of types of animals. You know, I talked about sharks 2 weeks ago, but I also like reptiles and birds and mammals and everything, but I love fish. As you can see from my shirt, I have a fish on my shirt, so it just shows how much I like these guys. I wanted to show some really cool examples of old type of fish, you know, ones that lived with the dinosaurs, the newer type of fish, different shapes and sizes, different types of teeth, different places they live, so like halibut and stuff that are flat, live on sand. So what I'm going to start with is actually the older fish. So these are the really ancient fish that lived alongside the dinosaurs and crocodiles and stuff like that, and even before them. So here's a really cool example. This is called a hagfish. It looks like a long slithery eel and it's really slimy. And it doesn't even have a jaw that can open and shut. It's just like a big worm. But this is one of the oldest fish species. Next, we have a chimera. This is in the shark family, or the Chondrichthyes family. So these guys right here live at the bottom of really, really deep oceans. And they move really slow, and these guys don't get very big. So this fish right here, maybe 100, 150 years old. You also find old fish that have really big armored scales, like this alligator gar right here. So this is actually a real fish that's just dried, and because it has these big scales, it's, you know, still really, really tough. And if you look right here, it has some big teeth. That's why they call it an alligator gar, because it looks like it has an alligator mouth. Now, if I was looking at some of the newer fish, the way you can tell is if they have, you know, fins that are closer to their head, they're shorter body shape, so they're not as long. All of these guys are really long fish. The newer fish have these short body shapes, like this kelp bass right here, or these puffer fish. And then another fish I want to show that's pretty new is called a giant kelpfish. So this guy right here, he actually, when he's alive, he looks just like kelp. And when we put them inside of these jars, it actually sucks the color out of their skin. The next type of thing I want to talk about is we have, you know, fresh water, like the water that we can drink, and then we also have salt water, like the water at the ocean. So there's fish that are adapted to live in freshwater and saltwater habitats. So I just wanted to show some freshwater examples. All the fish I've shown so far have been saltwater, except for the alligator gar right here is freshwater. And then I have two more examples. So in the Amazon, you have fish that have really sharp teeth. What do you think it is? Huh? That's right, a piranha. So I have an example of a piranha right here. This is actually a red piranha, and he is a freshwater fish that lives in the Amazon. Another example of freshwater fish is a catfish. So they have little whiskers, and that's what gives them that catfish look. Okay, so we've seen old fish, new fish, we've seen freshwater fish, saltwater fish, and now let's look at some different types of fish. So there's fish that have different types of protection methods, like being really, really spiky. So this is a sculpin, California sculpin. So if you're going on a fishing trip and you catch one of these, you don't want to get spiked by it because it's actually really poisonous and spiky, and it's similar to being bitten by a rattlesnake. So that's how they protect themselves. You also find fish like eels that are really slippery and slimy. So that's how they protect themselves.
Cool.
Sorry, I was just showing you a better angle for that. Now I want to talk about the different shapes and sizes. So, you know, you can get really, really big fish like tuna and marlin that get, you know, super massive and longer than me, even when I reach up. And they can weigh thousands of pounds, so like the size of a cow swimming around underwater. If you guys remember when I talked about in my question session, that black sea bass that I saw, that's one of those fish that gets really big, like the size of a cow. You know, I can't even reach as long as they get. then you also have smaller fish that are like this halibut. So he's really, really flat and lives at the bottom of the ocean where it's sandy, and that helps him blend in with the sand and stay away from predators and hide so he can sneak up on what he likes to eat. You also have other types of flatfish that look like tongues. So this is called a tonguefish. And then the last one I want to show you are these little guys. So you get really small fish too. And these are called blue-banded gobies. So these are actually really pretty when they're in the wild. They have these fluorescent blue colors on them. So we've talked about all these different types of fish. Different habitats they're evolved to live in are places like sandy habitats where you have your halibut. We have a flying fish. So the flying fish actually has these really big pectoral fins that help it fly in the air. Really crazy. Why would a fish need to fly in the air? Well, it's because these guys live in the open ocean where there's no protection. There's nothing they can swim into to hide. So in order to get away from predators, they actually jump out of the water into the air and fly away and get away from predators. So all of these fish right here, except for the puffer fish and the alligator gar, you could actually find right off the coast of California here. So we have a really rich diversity of sea fish in California, and it's really cool to stay in the marine environment around here because of how much variety we have. So now I'm just going to pull a fish out of the jar and show you a few characteristics about them. So Alex, what fish do you think I should pull out?
I think you should pull out the piranha.
Okay, and then what other one do you think would be good?
Your choice.
Okay, the piranha. So I have to make sure I wear gloves. So you know how fish, when you go to a fish market, they get really stinky? So that's because they're rotting. The way we keep them from rotting is we put them in alcohol and also formalin, which is a solution that preserves flesh. So all of these fish were not, killed just so we could put them in jars. These were accidentally caught, and because they were in the net too long or whatever, they died, so we took them, preserved them, and now we can show people like you all of these fish. So let's pull that piranha out. And if you look really close right here, I can actually show you those really sharp teeth they have. So if you see, they're like cookie cutter teeth. And this bite right here is actually from another piranha biting onto this guy. So you can see their sharp teeth can bite through, other types of fish really easily. That's also another bite from a piranha. And actually right there too. This guy really got manged up. But you can see they're not very big, but they live in really big packs. So I'm gonna pull out one more fish just to show you some characteristics. Let's see where So this is actually a fish that I captured and preserved in this jar. And this is a juvenile kelp bass. And we have, it's a good example for showing different types of fish fins. So we have the dorsal fin on top, and a lot of fish have spikes, so you can see those big spikes on the dorsal fin. That's so when you bite down on them, they can protect themselves. You have the pectoral fins, and then you have the pelvic fins down here, and then you have the tail fin. So remember, on the sharks, they have 7 gill slits or 5 gill slits. These guys have an operculum, so it covers all their gills, and they're hidden underneath here. So thanks for listening to me guys today. I really like showing you all the different fish that I'm excited about. If you have any questions, make sure to come to the session on Friday, and I can answer all those. So thank you.
Good job, Nature Jake.